On July 18th, the Terminator Dark Fate panel took place at Comic-Con. This panel was able to mitigate some of the negative fan sentiment towards the movie by doing two things. 1. Confirm an R rating, and 2. Bring out the trump card. The return of Edward Furlong's John Connor. This won a lot of skeptical fans over, although they didn't say anything about how big a role Edward Furlong, who was not present at the panel, would have. If some story leaks are to be believed though, Furlong's part will not be very big at all, and it may be quite controversial with fans to boot. Speaking of the story, the panel didn't even provide a synopsis of what the story is about or how all the new characters fit into it. That is about to change. In this editorial, I will begin by ever so briefly recapping the previous controversies surrounding the movie, before giving you my take on how this Comic-Con panel fits in with the movie's overall marketing strategy. Then, I will go through the story leaks that have been, piece them together and provide a story synopsis, as well as a possible description of how Edward Furlong's John Connor fits into the equation. Here, there will be mild spoilers, as we'll go through the backstory and setup for Dark Fate, but no story beats beyond that. The problem facing the Terminator franchise is that Terminators 1 and 2 were not just perfect action movies, they perfectly concluded the overarching story in such a final way that any attempt at continuing would come across as both forced and illegitimate, as was indeed the case with both Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genesis. So in other words, every Terminator movie since Terminator 2. As such, Dark Fate has an uphill struggle already there. In terms of press and coverage, the movie was largely ignored by everyone until director Tim Miller's July 10th interview in Variety, which I've already covered. To recap though, the framing device for the interview was how Mackenzie Davis would be received at Comic-Con, because the movie had been the victim of alleged misogynist attacks, with the strong all-female leads allegedly being called feminazis and other nasty stuff since the release of the first trailer. The implied accusation that anyone critical of the movie were closeted misogynists scared by Mackenzie Davis' strength and femininity did not sit well with fans. However, in my editorial, I expressed the opinion that this was not a real interview, but a paid-for puff piece and part of the movie's marketing campaign. Furthermore, I maintain that the target audience for this Variety article weren't the fans, but other entertainment journalists. That is to say, the Variety article was all about getting those who genuinely believe in and subscribe to the woke narrative riled up and write favorably about the movie. I also speculated that amends would be made to the fans at Comic-Con, maybe announce an R rating or something. With that, let's move into what happened at Comic-Con. Now, I wasn't at Comic-Con myself, but I didn't have to be, because the panel was published on YouTube almost in its entirety, on Variety's YouTube channel. You can take that as a pretty solid indication that both the publication of this panel, as well as Variety's so-called interview with Tim Miller preceding it, were indeed part of the movie's overall marketing campaign. As I suspected, amends to the fans were indeed made at the panel. The recurring selling point was that the movie would be R-rated, a point hammered in by Miller's ongoing joke about him and Schwarzenegger betting on how many times he would inadvertently say the word fuck. Emphasis was also placed on how effects-heavy the movie was, and it was mentioned that tonally this would play like Terminators 1 and 2, and that is incidentally the one thing here that kind of won me over a little bit. Also, exclusive footage was shown to the attendees, but not put online. I will now go through what was in that footage, so be warned that mild spoilers are about to come, although none that won't be released in the next trailer. In this footage, we learned that Mackenzie Davis and Gabriel Luna are both sent from the future to respectively protect and kill Natalia Reyes' character, Dani. Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor is an embittered Terminator Slayer who helps out because she was once Dani and it sucks. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Carl offers his assistance, and in return, Sarah Connor tries to kill him. She agrees to a truce though, to deal with the current Gabriel Luna situation, but promises to kill him afterwards, which he's cool with. So, what gives? What's the backstory here? Where does John Connor fit into the equation, and why haven't we seen him in any of the footage so far? There have been multiple alleged story leaks, which largely line up with what we've learned so far. As such, I'll now fill in the blanks of the backstory, although I'll stop short of giving any of the story beats of the movie itself. First of all, this movie follows the Back to the Future rules of time travel. There are no alternate timelines or parallel universes. There is only one. As such, the previous 3 movies aren't just relegated to other timelines, they are relegated to fan fiction. That being said, the backstory here is that in the dystopic future of Terminator 2, Skynet didn't just send the T-1000 back in time to kill John Connor. It sent other different Terminators as well, as a safeguard in case one failed. As we saw in Terminator 2, with the help of the T-800 sent by the Resistance, John and Sarah Connor are able to destroy not just the T-1000, but all the R&D that would lead to the creation of Skynet down the line. As such, they prevented Skynet from ever being created in their future. But those different Terminators Skynet sent in addition to the T-1000 to assure the death of John Connor had already been sent, and will show up at their set time, even if Skynet will no longer come to be. Cut to the opening of Terminator Dark Fate. A couple of years after the events of Terminator 2, a digitally de-aged Sarah Connor and John Connor are sitting in a bar in Mexico when one of those additional Terminators, a T-800 played by digitally de-aged Arnold Schwarzenegger, storms the room and kills John Connor. That, by the way, is reportedly the entire of digitally de-aged John Connor's presence in the movie, so don't get too excited about Edward Furlong's return. After having killed John Connor, this T-800 has fulfilled his primary directive. So now what to do? There is no Skynet, and there never will be. So he just carries on as best as he can in this strange new world, taking on the name of Carl. This is why Sarah Connor is so bitter. She lived through the death of her only child. This is also why she hates Carl. He is the one who killed her son. Carl has developed some sense of conscience, so he totally understands that. He has tried to make amends before though, because according to some reports, he has provided her with the location of those other Terminators Skynet sent back, so Sarah Connor can keep on killing Terminators from a future that won't happen, but which still killed her son. That is her dark fate. But just because Skynet no longer will come to be, doesn't mean the future of humanity is in the clear. In the new future, a new artificial intelligence will rise and wage war on humanity. Legion. That you can take to the bank. Our good friend Mr. H Reviews was able to provide 100% confirmation of this plot point by publishing audio recordings from the set, as well as provide an account for 4 weeks worth of reshoots. Click the link to see that report. With John Connor long since dead and gone, another leader of the Resistance will also rise, Dani, played by Natalia Reyes. But that is still in the future. Here and now, Dani is still just a girl, so this is the point where Legion sends Gabriel Luna's Rev 9 back in time to kill her. Responding to that, this is also the point that the future Resistance sent Mackenzie Davis back to. So there you have it. That is the backstory for the movie according to the leaks. Now I should note that there have been some conflicting reports regarding John Connor. Most agree he dies in the opening and stays dead, but other reports claim he is just in hiding and will re-emerge. If that is a result of reshoots or false reports aimed at blurring the issue, I cannot say. The rest should be pretty accurate though. So what do you think? Should the franchise have been allowed to rest in peace? Or is this an exciting take on pushing it forward? Let me know in the comments.
If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a comment, like it, and help share it. Or if you didn't, tell us why in the comments. If you did enjoy it, then feel free to subscribe, but remember to hit the bell icon to select that you want notifications all the time, otherwise YouTube might randomly unsubscribe you. Midnight's Edge is completely independent and devoted to bringing you the intelligent analysis of the inner workings of the film industry and genre media. If you like what we do, then we would be very grateful if you could help us keep the lights on by supporting us on Patreon or on Subscribestar. Our backers receive exclusive rewards and bonuses. Before you go, check out these other videos that may interest you, and our sister channel Midnight's Edge After Dark for more live shows and more laid-back content.